Should work.
Hey, hello.
Hey, thank
Hi.
you so much for your patience, and thank you to all the viewers who were patiently waiting for us to start. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just, gorgeous day here in Vancouver, and just, all's well.
Nice.
How are you in Toronto? How's it going?
It's a bit gloomy today for Victoria Day, so I think a lot of us are, just on social media or doing our own things inside. Mm-hmm. Although I've talked to some people who they didn't have rain where they are, so they're gardening and just enjoying the holiday,
Good. Yeah.
Not that it's much different for most of us, because we have really just, most of us have been off of work, of course, with COVID,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know, it's a whole other world right now. A much more inner world.
Definitely much more inner world, which is why I think our theme today is appropriate. I wanted to basically just start off. Any of you who are tuning in, thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
I see Michael McCarthy just joined.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
I see Marlene. Thank you, beauties, for being here and for your support and interest in spiritual growth. So basically what we'll be covering today is there'll be a short, hopefully short, you know how I get, Ross. I could be pretty long-winded, but I'll keep it nice and short and sweet because it's 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have until 5 minutes before 5 to close, so that's like almost a whole hour, but maybe we'll end it around like the 40-minute mark, or we'll be taking some questions and answers as well toward the end or middle. We'll see how that works out, but like I say, I'll try to be short, because what I wanted to do was I wanted people to kind of get an idea of what it is that you do as a spiritual mentor, spiritual teacher, coach. I mean, is that what you're how are you can
say all of those things.
Yeah. And just to kind of give people an idea of what it could be like, some people have always just wanted somebody they could talk to, a safe place to experience their emotions, to share their emotions. You've always created a really safe container for me to express my deepest emotions, my fears, any negative afflictions and things like that. So I just want people to kind of see what it is that you offer, and even just consider, I've never seen a therapist, because I've had you in my life all these years, almost 15 years coaching with you, but I assume that talking to a therapist is very similar, if anyone's ever done
It can be, yeah. It depends on the therapist, I think a lot of people, they start with a certain program, they learn certain techniques, and then, they evolve. And they evolve as individuals, and a lot of therapists are into meditation, so that element comes in. But for me, meditation is the beginning and the end. And then there's the impediments in the middle that stop us from getting to a place of meditation and being in the moment and experiencing bliss, cosmic consciousness, enlightenment, nirvana, whatever you want to call it. Where you're consistently in happiness and okay.
Yeah, and sharing those kind of, impediments, as you called them, with somebody who has a lot of experience with spiritual growth, personal development, is difficult. It's important, but it's also difficult because, from my experience, I've realized, it's not easy to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and vulnerable is a really key to opening to higher states of consciousness. And we have all kinds of subconscious programs that tell us it's not okay to be that open, in whatever way that is. And that's what I try to explore with people, is where the issues are, where the fears are, the unnecessary fears, to really opening to an extraordinary life experience without fear, without your mind going into unnecessary fear states.
Yeah, and just like, you could read a lot about these things. There's a lot of beautiful teachers who've written many books, but even from all the reading, like, I don't think I benefited nearly as much as our consultations, so this is why I really want to get this kind of thing out there into the world, bring some awareness to people. So if anyone's just tuning in, if your focus is gaining a sense of peace and happiness, and if that's something that you strive for, then I think this live today will be of great benefit to you. I will get to all of your questions. Well, Ross will, we'll direct them toward you, Ross. And if I could add anything from my personal experience, I will. But yeah, I already received one question, so don't worry. We will be getting to the question.
We'll get to it,
shortly.
Do you have a question personally that you wanted to put
I have a few, and
a few, eh? Okay.
we could always save some of them.
Hey.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I'm also going to be checking for any questions as I go. I have my phone here.
Right.
So I guess what it is it's like I get these beautiful realizations, and then I need to bounce them off somebody. So that's where, Ross, that's where you come in. A lot of my followers have been asking me to share about this ayahuasca journey that I went on last year. I sat with this beautiful medicine in Costa Rica, and that's a whole other story, and I'll save that for another time. Some people have asked me to do a live on it. I guess they have some questions and are interested in that experience, but so I'll go more into detail on that another time. But basically what came through for me with sitting with this medicine was this constant message from Spirit that I have been living the majority of my life in a victim mindset. This sort of victimhood image of me, just kept coming up. And that was something that, has really shifted my personal growth, just being able to realize when, I am in that victim mode.
Yeah.
And I even met an artist randomly in Costa Rica. She was staying at the same place that I was staying at, and she had a picture that she had painted. It was exactly me, Ross. It was me as a victim, though. So now I bought the little picture of her. It's like a little postcard, and I keep it next to my bed with my smoky quartz crystal, which is showing me a lot of my shadows. Having that
smoky quartz does that. It drills down into the shadow side, the unknown of the subconscious.
You would know with all your work with crystals.
I've definitely found tremendous help in that area from the crystal kingdom.
It's amazing you've been working with crystals since the 70s. That is so cool. Yeah.
When I started in Toronto, that was in the early 70s. There were no places you could buy crystals, at a retail level. I was lucky enough to connect with a woman who procured crystals for the Royal Ontario Museum and had a very big collection and had contacts all over the world. And I started purchasing crystals from her.
So I need to know what it is with this victim mindset. And I think that our viewers would appreciate this as well.
Sure. It's not, I want to speak to your specific victim piece, what's there for you and what that, represents, that it's like the healing of it completely so that you come out of that state. That nightmare really, that you're not good enough. In some way, someone sold you the story that you weren't good enough, and you came to believe it and start to live it. And so anyone who's in a state of believing they're not good enough is definitely going to be in the victim position in the world.
Interesting. So it comes from a lack of, like, what is it?
Self-esteem.
Right.
Yeah.
I can relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So this victimhood mindset leads us to act in ways that are like just not serving to our greater good, because it's like you're in this energy of like, poor me. And that's what kept coming up for me with my ayahuasca experience. It's like, Jeanette, smart enough. You're doing the same thing you did throughout your whole life here on this ayahuasca journey. Like, get rid of this, this is not who you are. Where did this poor me, moping around kind of mindset come from?
Right. So every so often you'll have a realization of where it came from. You'll have like an aha where you have a memory of an event, when you were, usually it's, these programs start when we're very young. I work from a position of the first 4 or 5, 6 years of our life, most of the unnecessary fear states are laid down at the subconscious level. And then they run us for the rest of our lives unless we actively become aware of them and what I call deprogram those negative thoughts, and get in touch with that level of our being. It's a very obviously young part of ourselves that has come to believe we're not good enough. And that's so when someone has ever tried to make you feel guilty about something, they're trying to convince you you're not good enough, and that means that, as they say, if you buy into it, then you move into this state of never being good enough, being in a poor state of consciousness, where you're just not okay with you, and it's easy for people to run that program on you. Could happen and I think what I see, it happens a lot in corporate settings and business settings, where
Absolutely.
people, where the authoritarian figures want control, and they very quickly, unconsciously, they tune in on the fact that you have this victim thing going on, and so they just work it to get you to do more and more and more. And by the way, you never get to being good enough either. They may have, say it from here, but occasionally tell you you're good enough, but then there's times when they don't. They work the other side of it.
Yeah, and why are we going to other people to tell us who we are? We know who we are. We know what we're capable of. When we set our mind to something, and we go after it, we can achieve a lot. So why is it that we're placing so much,
the short answer for the why is your parents. Right? Because we want to be accepted. We come into the world, we come into the family, and we want to survive. It's really primal, We want to survive.
Primal. That's that tribal state.
And we want to be accepted, right? So there's going to be obviously positive things where they love you and tell you you're beautiful, and but then you do something bad. I'm using the quotation marks, the fingers. Yeah. And then it's like all of a sudden, and it's very easy to control young children that way, because they're very open. So they want to please you. They want to have love. They want to give love, and they are giving love all the time. But then there's this other thing going on where they, and then the parents have been programmed that way too. So it gets handed down generation after generation until people start waking up and going, hold on, just a minute here. I'm okay. I was okay. I came into this body. I was open. I was totally clear. I was open to life, and I've picked up some highly negative programs that I need to dump, that I need to purge. They're viruses in a way. They're negative viruses. We're on the subject. It's a big subject, viruses, in these computers that we're dealing with and in the world, literally. So there are some viruses that are really, really dangerous. And that one, like deprogramming that one, saying to that little one in you, I love you, you're the best, you always were, you never were not okay. And I want you to know
There's that old book, I'm okay, you're okay, you know.
Yeah,
And for those of you who are tuning in right now, you know, I know we get some visitors coming in. I just want you to ask yourself, you know, could you possibly benefit from some spiritual guidance, a spiritual mentor, a spiritual teacher, which is why I am, and Ross is, you know, contributing this consult live. This is the kind of thing him and I do on the regular, you know. There's these patterns in the mind that I'm looking to reprogram. So if you are looking to grow as a spiritual being and to heal yourself on all levels, mind, body, soul, then I think you should stick around, because we'll be answering some of your questions very soon. So, but yeah, so that was one of them. The other realization that I've had recently was through a Vipassana 10-day silent retreat, where, you know, you're just sitting in meditation like all day long, and you're forced, well, you've kind of forced yourself, you know, you put yourself in that position. You're forced to sit with these emotions. And I am, you know, for those of you tuning in, like, who maybe don't know me so well, I am such an emotional being. And I think that's, you know, that can be, you know, I don't want to say good or bad, but that can serve, you know, in some ways. But in a lot of ways, you know, I go into these negative mind states because of these emotions. And I have to realize that these emotions flow through, and, you know, just like this COVID we're going through now, this too shall pass. So, Ross, my question to you is, like, you know, I was sitting in these meditations and I was feeling in my gut, like in my stomach, the emotions that I've hid from all my life, that I wasn't able to sit with and to feel. And now, you know, I put myself in a position where that's all I can do, because you're just meditating all day long in this meditation hall, and all you can do is be with yourself, your thoughts, you know, your emotions, and then your true self. Because I know we are not our thoughts and our emotions. So, you know, as somebody kind of still working through these anxieties, you know, this depression or this trauma, you know, those are three big ones for me, you know, is there anything you could potentially share to help me kind of get through these without them maybe negatively affecting my life?
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, you know, that the key thing is being aware moment to moment to what is coming up, and making the choice to talk to that part, say to that part, you know, especially if it's negative mind, obviously, to just say, hey, you know, I love you. I don't believe that anymore. I'm here now. I'm an adult. I'm a strong and capable human being. I have skills. And I no longer believe that story that I'm not okay. And to me, that, just that talking back, that's something we're not taught. You know, the other thing we're not taught is, to me, in this society, is to learn to love yourself first and then others. Right? So sitting in meditation and feeling love for that part of yourself that's in fear, unnecessary fear, is one way of beginning to dissolve the programs, the negative programs. And then the positive programs that are there will flourish by themselves. So they're being held back in a way by, you know, the unnecessary negative fear states. So if you can sit and just feel absolute compassion and love for that little one who's been through some difficult things, and then, you know, feel that building in you, that feeling of love, you know, and some people say, well, how do I access that? Well, I think there's very few people who haven't experienced love from someone else. You know, it may be a grandmother, a grandfather, one of the parents, another sibling in the family, maybe where they have a really great relationship. It may be from a lover that they've had if they're older. It may be an experience of, you know, like, a first romantic experience of having love come towards you. So you have that feeling in you, and you generate that energy, right? Tune into it, and then feel it here inside you, building inside you as that warmth of loving compassion, unconditional love for every part of your being. So body, mind, emotion, and just feeling it continuously. And my view is then you get to a certain place where it builds, as you do this meditation after, 15, 20, 30 minutes, you're going to start to feel that love building in you. And then there's a point when you feel like you want to burst. It's like a rose opening, and you feel, and then you send it out. Send it out to the world. Send it out to the people that's easiest for you to love first. And then the people that's not so easy, to me, there is a place where you get to a total unconditional for everyone on the planet. And then as you move into that state of feeling that, then you always end the meditation with feeling love for yourself again. You come back inside and you feel that love building in you, feeling love for that part of yourself. And then as you feel that, you come out of the meditative state. So that, powerful way to dissolve, the negative mind. It's very simple. And I knew about this meditation for 5 years before I started doing it. I read about it, but this was a lot of years ago. But my self-esteem wasn't strong enough that I really couldn't get what it was telling me. The simplicity of it. I couldn't believe that I deserved love first, because I didn't live in a society that taught me that.
The inner child work that you have shared with me has helped me with the self-love. And, even when my clients ask me, like, well, how do you refrain from, with the detox program I do, like, how do you refrain from doing, this or doing that, that's maybe not serving, say, eating cooked food or something, and they're supposed to be on a raw diet. It's like, well, how would you treat, a beautiful young child that wants to have that little bit of cooked food, have compassion toward that child. That's the only way any normal person would treat a child, So
of
treating yourself like that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things about, to me, when you're trying to shift your diet, you're dealing with really core emotional issues that relate to food when we're very young. So again, feeling like the part of yourself, but it's doing it with awareness, right? So, okay, so who wants to eat that steak tonight instead of this, beautiful salad? Who so, and then say to that part, okay, it's okay. I know you really want to eat that, and that's okay. And we can have that tonight if you like. And, I'm okay with that. But I also want you to know that we're trying to become a lot healthier in our body. So when you start doing diet things, it brings up the negative mind very quickly. the negative subconscious, the child who we know, so much of gratification occurs through certain foods that please and make us feel better when, and raise our sugar levels so that, we feel a little bit higher. But obviously it's temporary and it doesn't get to the core issues. So, but again, being gentle, being loving with that part of yourself, but also guiding it to the foods are healthier for you and that will heal your body and heal your whatever the issue is.
Absolutely.
For me, I had an ulcer by the time I was 23, eating standard processed food, that was cooked every day in my family. And I shifted my consciousness and my diet at that time. I went into a traditional Japanese macrobiotic approach. And then I had a lot of support. There was a community I was involved with who really loved eating that way, and we supported each other in eating. And I healed my ulcer in 6 months. It was gone. I've never had one since.
Yeah, the emotional aspect to healing, that emotional support. Like, that's why I wanted to do this live today, for anyone just tuning in. Like, Ross he's my spiritual teacher, you're my spiritual mentor, and it's because you've lived a certain amount of, experience with growing yourself and healing yourself, and
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, whatever.
Heal thyself. And whatever way we're healing in our society as healers, but also, healing the entire society through meditation.
Yeah, and I just want people to know that there are resources out there that could really help them, that are maybe a little less conventional than, like, say, going to a therapist or something like that. But you really want to find somebody who can offer you that safe container where you could just share, from the depths of your being.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I do have another kind of thing I'll raise with you today, one of my own personal issues, and then we'll get to some of your questions. So anybody who's listening in, just fire away any questions regarding spiritual growth or your own personal healing journey, and Ross will be happy to answer your questions shortly. But yeah, so I guess one of the biggest ones that I have been working through has been just in regards to romantic relationships and this sort of codependency that I was taught as a child, being raised with a family that was a little bit more codependent. And so basically I just started acting that out throughout my teenage years and just finding like all kinds of boyfriends that I could like enter into like a monogamous relationship and like basically have like this codependency going on where, we almost didn't do anything apart. Me and several, men that I've had long-term relationships with, throughout my younger years and going into my 20s. So now, where I'm at in my life, I am learning that, a fire can be started with, kindlings, right? You put one kindling at a time. And that's the kind of romance that I thought I was looking for. But it turns out after a couple of years of having that approach to my romantic life, I'm starting to see things completely differently. I'm starting to put peace, my own peace of mind before anything else, because I have been alone now for a few years, and I have been really, experiencing that mental peace and clarity that comes from just being on your own. We're alone, but we're never really alone because we're all connected to the one source, but I'm okay with being alone for the first time in my life, and I'm really loving it. And now, after studying some of the Buddhist teachings and things, I'm realizing that with romantic relationships, it's just like a roller coaster. Like we're attracted to somebody. There's this like chemical reaction going on where we feel drawn to them, but then we start to create all these like binds and chains, and it ends up being kind of this attachment that I was looking to heal from, like the codependency. It's like, even though I am no longer identifying myself as a codependent because I've embraced being on my own, I feel like when I have feelings for somebody, it can get a little clingy, and it almost seems like that desiring, that attraction doesn't serve me. And it's not to say I'm going to become a monk overnight, but I really value my peace of mind. So if there's anything you could say that could help me, because now I'm in a place where it's like, well, am I never going to have a companion? Am I just going to have a companion? Is it not going to be a sexual relationship? Like, I really don't know where it's going to go. And I guess I have a little bit of anxiety around, like, what should I be like striving for? What would be best for me?
Yeah. I think, one of the things in my own life, in terms of partnership, and I'm right now in a relationship that's for over 20 years. I'm married. I made that decision only a few years ago, and we married, and it's so. One of the things to me is the core thing is the orientation of the person that you are with. Do they have a spiritual orientation? Or are they open to transformation of themselves and giving you the space to transform also? So to me, that was always for me, once I aligned with my own spiritual development, and that was in my early 20s, and I'm in my early 70s right now, I always chose to be with women who were involved with the spiritual process and the spiritual life consciously, as I was. And to me, that then becomes a much more fruitful situation, because you can then discuss things very openly about what you're going through and how you're feeling, and what you would like to have happen in an open, loving relationship that's based in compassion, which is to me the highest form of love. So romantic love is critical. It's a development of a certain kind of unconditional state, but usually within a monogamous relationship, it can be a little bit too restrictive. So, and not so open to experimentation if one of the other person wants that. So to me, it's a lot to negotiate. But to me, it's like when you are actively with a person who has that orientation, and I mean towards a spiritual life and growth and consciousness and self-awareness, then you can negotiate these things and talk about them openly. And just being able to talk about it can shift everything. You don't necessarily need to do anything. You just need to be able to share your deepest experiences with that person, and what you're going through, and relax. So it becomes a positive, balanced relationship. It's not negatively codependent, where you're in fear of this person leaving you. You're in fear of being abandoned if you say something that might ruffle their feathers.
No one wants to live in fear.
Hey, and fear of abandonment is again a core fear state in every human being. It starts as babies. We depend on. We're helpless. For many years we need parenting. We need a mother or a father or both. We need a grandparent, someone to take care of us. We're not going to make it.
So what do you recommend then when? And of course, this is totally for me. And don't worry, everyone who is on the call, we'll get to your questions shortly. Feel free to type them in. We're not staying on too much longer, about maybe 10, 15 more minutes. We'll see what's the divine order of things. But Ross, what would you say for me then? Because I'm somebody who, I take a lot of action, me. When I want something, I go after it. But that also means that I'm a little bit impatient, and these emotions tend to drive me at times. And it's I want to follow my heart, and I want to be in joy, follow my joy. And I know you've always taught me that when you follow your heart, everything will fall into place. I have a dear friend on the call, Cuba, right now, and he's following his heart. He's been for years with this YouTube channel on raw detox and sharing about the benefits of eating fruit and cleaning your body out. And so everything will work out when you're following your heart. But for me, I just really struggle with that patience. It's these emotions want to drive me to act, and then I'm not grounded and I'm not rational. And I think we all kind of deal with this. So how can in a modern society, impatience is rampant. It's a disease, right? It's about constantly pushing yourself into the future. You're thinking about the future. You have desires about the future. You have anxiety about the future, and all of that coincides with the impatient state. And to me, patience, when it's really operating beautifully in us, is a very divine state, really, because you're trusting. When you're in patience, when you're patient, you are in a trusting state. So just be aware, and you can just be aware that when impatience is happening, to talk to that part of yourself. Hey, what's going on?
life is going to happen by itself. Like life, the saying I love is, in the spring, the grass grows by itself. You can't, like you can go, hey, I want the grass to grow now. Come on. We're like, we're going, oh, sure, right. So it's like, it's a slow spring in the east right now, I can see. And it's like, come on, where's the leaves? So we've got to find that place in us that is aware that when life wants to open that door to a loving, supportive, compassionate relationship, it will do so. Mm-hmm. The other thing I like is go for it.
Just like the doubt in terms of like anything I'm doing, like it's like this doubt that creeps in, and I'm sure some of you who are on this call today can relate. It's like, how do you kind of differentiate between, oh, this is just doubt, this is self-sabotage, versus like, oh, I have clarity, like I'm on the path and what is meant for me will not pass me by. Because that is something that feels really enlivening to me, is to like, when I get into like the self-sabotaging and like the doubt, I don't feel in my joy. So if I'm following my joy and I'm following all of your teachings and everything I've learned through, some of the spiritual community and things, it's like, no, like what feels good? Choose that thought. And the thought that is enlivening to me is what is meant for me will not pass me by. But it's like this constant like battle between like both extremes.
Yeah. Well, I hear the thing is that to me, the battling part can keep just running. You've got to find, to me, spiritual techniques that will allow you to just relax out of that state and develop patience with the impatient mind, for instance, right? To create this other highway of trust. And to me, as I said, when you're in as patient state, you're trusting. Then it gradually counteracts that impatient state. And sometimes you need to actually verbally talk to that impatient part. Okay, it's okay. That person will arrive when they're ready to arrive. Maybe they got caught on the freeway and they can't get here, and you don't have to be impatient about the fact that they're not here. Just be in the moment and continue on with, read a book, meditate, clean the house a little bit, fix some food in a meditative way. Be in the moment, because in the moment everything is totally okay. When we're here now,
so true.
It's absolutely totally okay.
It's so true, Ross. Like, all of a sudden, I was driving myself crazy recently, and thank you, Kuba. I know you're relating to me, right? Kuba leaves a message basically saying that like he felt like he should already have like manifested his dream life by now, and like he's still kind of like in some old situations or sometimes doubting his path. Like I started feeling this way recently, and then I was like driving myself crazy. Like I would be meditating, because I'm meditating like at least 30 minutes a day. I wake up and I practice my meditation and just make sure I get it.
It's a good time to practice meditation is first thing in the morning.
And then I'm like, for weeks, I'm like thinking of the same things in my meditation, like these like, fears and anxieties are coming through, and I should do this and I should be doing that, and like self-criticisms and things. And I'm just aware of them, and I know that they're not me. But what really helped was, like you said, just drop it. I said to myself, Jeanette, drop it. What you're going to do now is you're going to get your coloring books out. When I was like living like raw vegan, like 2.5 years on like this beautiful high vibrational diet of living foods, I would color. And I found things like that I really enjoyed, certain books and just things like that. So that is really, I think you hit it right on the head, is like, I'm now no longer struggling in my meditations the last few days, because I just started saying, no, that's it. Stop putting so much pressure on yourself. Get out your fun stuff, go put your feet on the earth, do the things that make you feel like, that are enlivening to you.
Right
so everyone who's listening, please send your questions on spiritual growth or anything that you are going through right now, because we have about 10 minutes left at the most where we want to address your questions. Ross, were you going to say anything else about what I was just sharing?
No, I think we can move on. We can take questions from people, and we can always talk later at some point, the two of us, as you feel too.
Aw, you're sweet. Well, just your time today, just you giving of yourself so generously, has been such a treat, and you're such a gift in my life. And if you feel called to do more of these, maybe we'll get some more people interested. Basically, the call today for all of you who are tuning in was basically to show you what it's like to get some spiritual guidance, some mentorship from a spiritual teacher. And Ross, actually, I'm going
to answer a question that just came up. It was someone asked why I recommended morning meditation. To me, the reason is the transition times, morning or evening. Both. I wouldn't say one or the other. They're both excellent in the sense that, but in the morning we're coming out of the sleep state. We're rested. We haven't really started our day yet, and we can then be in that more peaceful state of experiencing the moment. I mean, to me, it's like
what a great question.
When we go to sleep at night, in reality, we don't know if we're going to wake up. We trust that if I fall asleep, I'm going to wake up. But, we don't know that. That's the truth. So, to me, so you have to relax and trust to fall asleep. And so falling asleep, and then we've trusted, we've been in that sleep state, and we've come out of it, and now we can sit in that relaxed state and spend some time with ourselves, meditating, putting our awareness on our breathing in a very relaxed way, because we are relaxed. And that is, the blessing of, to me, the morning time. At night, we finished our day, so the mind may still be running and thinking about things that we have to do tomorrow. But again, to me, you want to relax as much as possible before you go into the sleep state. So again, putting your awareness on your breathing. If you have a crystal, you may want to meditate on it and just be in that state in the moment and link your breath with your crystal. To me, crystals are very balanced, especially the quartz. They are, to me, multidimensional structures that help us to relax and tune into our high self, that essential part of ourselves that is in a state of trust. So to me, linking, it can be also meditate on a candle, on a lit candle, and just be there with the flame and be there in awareness with your breathing and the flame. And then as you feel like you're relaxed, then you can just blow out the candle, close your eyes in bed, and go out for the night.
Do you feel like that you relax when you meditate because you're kind of working through these things that are running through your mind? So like by noticing them, they kind of just go away? Or what is it that ends up being so relaxing?
Well, the thing about meditation is, to me, if you're doing Vipassana, it's all about the breathing. So, and what's happening when we're breathing, the body, it's happening right now. Breathing is happening now. It's not happening in the past. It's not happening in the future. It's totally now. So when we put our awareness on our breathing, then we come into the moment, and the mind gradually stops.
Yeah, that's that Anapana they do, right? In Vipassana. Well, if for any resources, guys, to these kind of things that Ross brings up, just reach out. We have no problem if you want to. Can people DM you, Ross? Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Okay. So we're here for you all even after this call, because we won't just keep you too much longer, but just so grateful for those people who did tune in and who are still on the call. If you have any questions about your own spiritual growth or anything that's just going on in your life right now, feel free. I have one question that we got actually just prior to the call. A friend of mine, she's a yogi in Toronto, and she basically just wanted to know, she's kind of stuck in a situation right now, Ross, that is preventing her from creating content as a yogi during these times, where we're social distance, and she wanted to create content that could help people just like we're doing today on social media outlets, but she feels like she's stuck, right, in this situation because something like technical is happening and it's not allowing her to film the content that she wanted to create. So she wants to know, how can she move past this feeling of being stuck?
Okay, so to me, that stuck state is, it's fear in some way operating. When we feel stuck, we're in fear in some way. So fear of change, fear of a dramatic change in our lives. To me, I remember when I put up a website in 2000, so it's 20 years ago. I had to get a programmer to do it. I actually one of the young men I work with was a programmer, and he programmed it. Was like, in those days, it was a huge deal to put up a website. And I went through a lot of changes about putting that website on the web, like to open it. It was like, wow, it was like opening this whole doorway that was very unknown. It still is in many ways, but to me, we're relaxing more about it. We're learning how to use it. It's one of the things about being in the West. Technology, it's new, and so we don't know what's going to happen, and is it going to be okay? Well, yeah, it'll be okay. It's trusting that
everything will be okay.
If your heart says to do it, then go for it and jump. And to me, so when we feel stuck, we're hesitating, and hesitation is then fear. So to me, I was a sannyasa of Osho for well over a decade, and when he was alive, and one of his famous statements was, "Don't look before you leap." So it's like, that's all about trust, right? You don't look before you leap. No, now we're talking about following our heart. You just gotta go for it.
I know, Ross, we got a really sweet comment from some beautiful being here in the group. I don't know their name, but they just said that they automatically feel more grounded just by hearing your voice. And I completely relate to you, sister. This man helped me so much. Like, he has helped change the entire trajectory of my life. If any of you are ever interested in who I used to be, I'd be really happy to share that. The difference in my state of mind, who I am, how I show up in the world, my personal integrity. I honestly owe a lot of that to these coaching sessions. So I love you so much, Ross. We have about...
And thank you for setting this up.
Maybe 3... Sorry?
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it. And namaste.
Namaste. Thank you all so much who made it. I don't see that we have any more questions. Hopefully, you'll all join us in the future. Ross, if you think this might be something you might want to do.
And some people, they may have questions after they get off this call, something that comes up, and they can DM me for sure. So, yeah.
Yes. And it's actually, you still have that website you spoke about. It's Source.
It's up, yeah. It's it's pretty crude, but it's a 20-year-old website.
It's a little bit older model, but that's okay. So
the programmer who did it can't believe it still runs.
You're so cute. Oh my gosh. Well, you specialize in one-on-one, right? Isn't that?
Very much so. Yeah, it's my preference. Yeah.
Right, but it's nice so people can see, because I love on your website, so it's sourcequest.com, I think.
.ca.
Oh, it is .ca.
Yes, it is a .ca.
Source, SOURCE, quest, just like his name here. .ca, and then there's like a whole history of like everything.
And obviously Instagram that we're running. I'm really enjoying doing Instagram, and
of course, you don't really need a website anymore now that we have.
Yeah, you don't. No, I mean there's a bit of information there, and there's a page called The Past, which gives you an idea of the areas that I've been involved with since 1977. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, cool. So if anybody needs a spiritual mentor, some spiritual guidance, feel free to reach out. If you have questions, I can help as well. I'm just here to be of service. Ross is doing consults. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all so much. And I hope everybody has an amazing Victoria Day. Love you all so much. Love you, Ross. Thank you so much for everything.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.